Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, delivered to you by the great folks at DoorDash.
Ding dong.
Use promo code CONVODD, capital C, capital D's, all one word, CONVODD. That will get you 25% off and free delivery on your first order. Does not get much better than that, folks. My name is Dave. I'm joined, as always, by the man who built the place, Chris Faber. Our technical producer is Aaron, who admittedly is written as Aaron Network in my so I don't know your last name off the top of my head, so my apologies for that. But Aaron is going to be our producer today. Alex taking a little bit of time off, much well deserved for our regular technical producer, Alex, whose last name I also won't say to keep everything fair on this show, because that's how we do things here.
Say my last name.
I can't remember it. I'm sorry.
Your Twitter name is only your last name.
Yes, it is. It is, absolutely.
So, took a couple days off. Good to be back. How you feeling after little Christmas stuff?
Great.
How was it?
Great. And I'm wearing, I was going to ask you this. So I'll ask you at first. You know what I'm talking about. So you have time to think about it. I want to make you pick your favorite present, because I wouldn't say this is my favorite present, because I got a lot of, I got a few nice things for Christmas that I'm very thankful for. But this heated vest, my brother, dude, there's a battery pack in here. You should feel me right now.
I'm
here.
good, actually.
There's a battery pack in this vest, and it is, it's super warm. I was wearing it on my walk in. I ran here as I normally end up doing, but we're on time today. I'd say we didn't see the SkyTrain today, but yeah, we're okay. We're doing fine.
So this is your favorite one, right? Because there's always, with Christmas gifts, there's a lot of hype behind some of them, right? Like some of them you get and you're like, hey, this one I'm liking right now, especially right after Christmas. You can't wait to use it.
Okay.
I know that's you with all your Legos over there.
Well, okay, right? So I got the Nano Gauntlet Lego set.
I don't know what that is.
Iron Man's hand. Have you seen You don't watch Marvel, right? Because here
I've seen one of the Infinity Wars.
Okay, well, you know the one where he wears the stones on his hand, Iron Man, and he kills him. Well, he dies. Remember that?
Yeah, with Tony Stark. And
yeah. So I got that glove.
That's the one I've seen.
Yeah, so I got that. I got the Lego set. So I was excited about that. And then I got a couple Lego gift cards, which I went and bought the typewriter set with. So now I finished the Nano Gauntlet already, and I'm building the typewriter right now. It is cool, man. I'm working on the inner workings.
I got to ask about this typewriter before you go any further. Is it functional? Does it work?
Yes,
I thought so.
But
it looks pretty intense from what I've seen.
So you can put a piece of paper in it, and it will slide the paper across as you hit each key, and there's like a hammer that hits the page each time.
But does it?
But no, ink? It doesn't put ink. It won't put ink on the page, so it doesn't work. But like each time you hit a key, it makes the click and hits the hammer on it, and it's all mechanical. Toy. Yeah, it's Lego.
It's like what kids play with when they have a fake typewriter.
It's 18 plus, man. The set is 18
I saw that.
plus.
I was actually laughing about that one.
You would have trouble with it. I had trouble with it. I actually had to take it apart at one point. I got to a step and I was like, oh no, I missed one little, I don't even know what you would call it. It was like a little stud that I forgot to slide onto the thing, and I had to not restart, but I had to go back a few steps.
Aside from that, anything, because you got a lot of Lego I saw.
Those were the two sets, but I got my girlfriend the Friends Apartment set, and she's loving that. That's another big 18 plus
one
set.
Thing I got, my mom got me this, and this is just, I tell you what, nobody would buy this gift unless they really knew me. My mom got me this like extreme antiperspirant. It's like 2 sticks of deodorant, but also this face cream, which you can like put on your forehead, apparently, for antiperspirant, so you don't sweat on your forehead.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but that was a pretty cool one. I got some. I think I put some stuff in here. I have something for you later on, actually, in the in the World Juniors stuff, because I know you like to zone out. So I got something for you to do while you zone out with the prospect stuff. But good Christmas all in all. I got some exciting stuff. I got a couple new pickleball rackets. Very excited about that. I actually I'll have, because one of the gifts was like a gift card for a pickleball racket to go buy a gift card.
Nice.
Go buy another one. So, and then my mom got me like a 2-pack. So now when I go buy that new one, I'll have 4. We can all go play. We can go play pickleball now. Like outdoor, I have four paddles. We can like get a full crew together and go play.
That's fun.
So I'm excited about that too. And lots of socks, lots of underwear. It's bad because I had like 3 different boxes of Sax underwear that weren't even opened when we were like cleaning out, because we cleaned out a bunch of clothes. As you could probably see on the way in, there's like a bunch of donation bags about to go. Salvation Army or Valley Village. I don't know which one's better to donate to. We're going to donate them to somebody. But we went through a bunch of clothes, found 3 full boxes of sacks, unopened underwear.
Value Village sells for profit, don't they?
Really?
Well, yeah, you pay for stuff when you go to Value Village. It's a store. I don't know.
Salvation Army.
We're not going to start this.
Either
right
way, whatever the chat says, I'll do. I don't care. I listen to whatever the chat says about everything.
I got one present that you are going to benefit from, and you're going to be very excited about. It is a Margaritaville margarita maker, and you are going to like it because not only can you have margaritas or whatever, you can just make regular Slurpees with it. Like you can just pour Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola, whatever you want, and then put the ice in the top, and it'll make you a Slurpee.
Wow.
So I got a Slurpee maker at home now.
That's pretty cool.
So Rummy, I think
I have Pokemon cards too. I'll show one just today. I'll show them as we go. This one I actually bought for myself, so this isn't even a Christmas gift. But a Kabutops holographics, beautiful. Picked it up myself.
Yeah, you got some Pokemon cards from your fiance.
You delivered them.
Well, first Cody Sievertson delivered them.
Yeah. So it's good.
He delivered them to me in an envelope in front of my building that had the word drugs written on it in big letters, and I had to tuck it into my jacket.
Yeah, I almost opened it when I saw what it said on it, and when it was sitting on the counter there.
Yeah.
But, oh, great! Dave brought drugs for my fiance. That's awesome.
Hopefully everybody had a good Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody out there.
Tell you what, a break was real nice. Little break.
Yeah, it was. It was good. We had only four articles on Canucks Army over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Really?
Actually, I think there were 6. Four on Christmas Eve, 2 on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
But I managed to not work too much on those days. I worked for like 30 minutes.
What was the best? Was there any surprise side dishes at your Christmas dinners? Anything that caught you off that was better than you expected, worse than you expected? Because you and your girlfriend now getting a little more serious. You went and did some family stuff with her, I'm assuming.
Yeah. But
anything like from her family that you were like, oh, and I don't know if she's watching or not. You can say that if there was a bad food item or a good food item.
Her dad made us cocktails in the morning. Like we went there in the morning.
Okay, so that's the vibe.
Well, yeah. So he made me a mimosa, and it was really good. And like,
is a mimosa a cocktail?
Well, hang on a sec, because he also did this thing, and we're approaching the 10-minute mark. So apologies, folks. We'll get to the hockey soon, but. He froze ice cubes with like orange juice, and he put like, I think they were cranberries. Cool. I'm not sure. So the ice cube started to add to the flavor. It was awesome. I really liked that. And you're asking me what I was surprised about. It was that, because I didn't think I would like that very much.
You didn't think you show up in the morning and start to get alcohol fed to you?
No. He told me in about October that was the plan, so I was ready for that.
Cool. So you're prepared for it.
But I had to drive too, so I was very careful. I didn't have more than one. Yeah. Anyways,
I've seen you after more than one drink.
I can't have more than
anywhere near a car. All right, let's get to it. Canucks big win last night, 6-2 against the Sharks. Do you see the stat that Joey Kenward put up the other day? The Canucks have had over their past 21 games now, returning from the Christmas break, 17 wins. Like, this is when the team plays their best hockey, coming off of these Christmas breaks. But let's get to the big stats from the day, obviously. Bo Horvat, Ilya Mikheyev both had 4-point nights. Brock Besser was a third player on that line. He had a 3-point night in the game. Just great performance on that line, and they matched up in kind of like a top 6 role against the Sharks. Listen, the Sharks aren't a great team. We can kind of see that, and you saw that last night. But Canucks took care of business, and I thought that line was absolutely excellent together watching those 3 play. And it was good because I feel like Mikheyev's space, the way that he creates space, for Brock Besser, like his speed really opened up a lot of area, and it was nice to see Besser have all that time in the world for that shot. I laugh because people have been replying to the Karamaki tweet that I had about he's never going to have that much time in the NHL, defending in the NHL so much better. It's like, hey, you see how much time Brock Besser had yesterday? Set himself up for that. The Canucks are over 500. They're 6 over their last game. 6 of those overtime. So it's been a little bit tight up to the point for these teams. Listen, they're winning games. I know they have to the season, but they're right now in the season over 500 as they roll up in Winnipeg and Calgary.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you brought up one line that was kind of hard matched in a top 6 role. The other one that, again, we'll get to the positivity in a sec, but JT Miller at center continues to not be great. He was hard matched against a top 6 line, but you can kind of see it there. Absolutely caved in. 18 chances against, 3 chances for. Nice work by Aaron, by the way, pulling that up. Didn't even have to yell, get it up, Alex. Aaron just got it up there. Curtis Lazar, I learned in the Statsies by Michael Liu. He was the low Corsi man on the night. And again, that's not to say Curtis Lazar had a especially poor game. Same with Connor Garland or JT Miller for that matter. It's just that line doesn't seem to be a fit when JT Miller's the center, because we saw those two with Bo Horvat and they were fine, right? Like those two or not those two, excuse me, Curtis Lazar and JT Miller with Miller on the wing. Like that line was fine. And look, like Connor Garland's not the problem on that line with the JT Miller and Curtis Lazar trio, but he's not really bringing a ton to that line, as you can kind of see by what they accomplished last night. And again, I understand they had, the most time on ice. They were playing in a bit of a matchup role. They were hard matched. I believe it was against the Couture line. And yeah, like they didn't perform that well. And you look at all the other forward lines that the Canucks had, even right down to the Niels Amon, Studnicka, Dakota Joshua line. Like that line was fine, but you look at the Canucks two, I don't even want to call them top six lines, but the line centered by Bo Horvat and Elias Pederson, and you're seeing a lot of good things. One thing I want to talk about as we are talking in the segment called Should We Be Excited? Should we be excited about Lane Pederson, Chris?
Well, I think everything he's done up to this point, you can't say that it's been a bad thing for sure. You should be excited about what you see with Lane Pederson. Listen, he was a throw-in the Ethan Bear trade. He was also, he played for the Sharks before. He was in the Brent Burns trade.
Yes.
Which was kind of interesting as well. But, I mean, obviously, incredible start for him in the AHL. I talked about it with Bruce Boudreau a little bit today, actually, just kind of asking him about, listen, Bruce has a lot of respect for the AHL, right? Like, you kind of know this. He's a guy who respects what these guys do in the AHL and what, success like the AHL can potentially translate to in the NHL. We also know the management group and Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford also very much respect what the AHL can do. You saw that with what they did with the Pittsburgh Penguins in their time there. Pederson's interesting because when I talked to him in Abbotsford, and this was right before he got called up, he was like, he was saying like he's working on all the other parts of his game because he doesn't think he's going to be in the role that he is. Like he wasn't going to be, he was first line, penalty killing, power play. He was doing all that in Abbotsford. And when he talked about it, he's like, listen, I know I'm going to be in a depth role when I get called up to the NHL. Like, it's going to be very different. So I'm working on those parts of the game. Then he gets here to the NHL, and he's playing with Elias Pettersson. And he talked about it a little bit today when I chatted with Lane about, like, it's just it's so great to play with such a smart player, right? He talked about it with Pettersson. And the other thing I asked him, because I asked, like, you can ask all the simple questions of, like, well, what do you like? They're going to say good things about him. But I asked Lane Pederson about, like, what do we not see? And he's like, the communication after every shift of like Pederson being so vocal about where he wants the player to be, where he wants to just kind of directing things for that line. Like that's something that you don't see from every single player on every single shift. But that's something he said, like he really likes Pederson because like playing with him, he's going to tell you where he wants you to be, where you want to go. And if you go there, you're going to have success. Like look at pretty much every line mate Pederson's ever had. Their numbers have gone up when they play with Pederson. So it's a good spot for Pederson to be in, obviously. And
this was pointed out in the Stanchies last night. Lachlan Irvin making his debut on the Stanchies did a fantastic job. He pointed this out, and again, I think this was a thread between Daniel Wagner, Jackson McDonald, a few people on Twitter as well kind of brought this up, that Lane Pederson might actually be a guy.
New pair of boots last night, brand new pair of Christmas boots last night in the press box. Legs look good in those boots. They got buckles on them. The ones that got about 40 those things go up on legs. Be careful. They go up very high.
Like showed up in his thigh highs?
Pretty much.
Okay. Anyways, what was I even saying? You throw me off with your boot talk. Okay, that was what I was trying to say. They had a little thread where they were talking about, hey, you know what? He might be a guy, and you need a guy. You need guys on your team. And when I say guys, I mean guys like, hey, Aaron Rome, Andrew Alberts, these guys. They were all guys on that 2011. Who else do I mean? I mean Connor Sherry. I mean like Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel's probably a bit of a different example. But what I'm trying to point at here is that, and, Scott Wilson, the list goes on. These guys that just show up out of nowhere. And hey, you'll notice I just used 3 examples from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
For sure.
Right? Could Lane Pederson be one of these guys that you just can play on your top 6 and then ship out once his value is really high and you don't pay him like a top 6 guy? Because, hey, like you look at what Pittsburgh was able to do. And again, that was Jim Rutherford that was the president of hockey operations. And I'm not saying that I know for sure that Jim Rutherford stormed into the Canucks offices and said, get me Lane Pederson. I don't know if that's the case, but all I'm saying is there's a history of Jim Rutherford led organizations that go out and get these guys that just aren't much, but turn into something. And look, it takes skill to play with a guy like Elias Pettersson. And again, You brought it up. Lane Pederson hadn't shown much in his NHL career to this point. He thought he was going to be in a depth role. Instead, he's playing with Pederson. He's having success. I understand the sample size is small, Chris, but it's to the broader picture of the quads plan and just any like team that's kind of in this state where the Canucks are. You don't want them to be, paying big bucks to guys like Connor Garland and Tanner Pearson, right? And again, that's not a knock on those guys. It's just that what they're being asked to do, you might be able to find it in someone younger. You might be able to find it in someone a lot cheaper just because of how good the players on your team are. Now, I don't want to lump those guys all into that, all the Canucks wingers into that, because, hey, if Ilya Mikheyev's not on this team, if Connor Garland's not on this team, or Brock Besser, any of the wingers, whatever.
Yeah.
If they're not on this team and you have 6 Lane Pedersons, only one of them's going to play like the Lane Pederson we're seeing right now. I don't know if any of this makes sense. It might be hard to follow, but what I'm trying to say is when Tanner Pearson returns from injury,
where does he go?
Is Lane Pederson getting bumped out of the lineup so that Tanner Pearson can slot back in? Because honestly, I think that is subtraction by addition. Like I think the Canucks are a worse team with Tanner Pearson in the lineup than Lane Pederson.
I don't know if he goes into the top 9, and I don't think the way that this line's running, you can fit him in the top. Listen, you might be able to fit him in. Could Connor Garland be scratched again? That wouldn't surprise me. Right? Like that could be something. We could see Garland kind of out and maybe like Pearson going to play with JT Miller because they need some help defensively. And listen, Pearson's going to give you that. He's going to be in the right spot at the right time defensively. He's going to do, the things that Pearson does. He's not going to be dynamic, but he's going to be solid-ish, right? Like that's what Pearson's going to bring to a line. Maybe that's something that someone like JT Miller needs on his line. But I also find it interesting that like Lane Pederson was saying he was preparing for a depth role, like preparing to be used probably on a 4th line, probably not see power play time, maybe even see time on the penalty kill if that's something that he was working on a lot in the AHL. But Boudreau decided to go with him playing with Pederson.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. If Tanner Pearson was healthy when Lane Pederson got called up, first of all, I understand Lane Pederson might have not even got called up. I understand that. But if he's your call-up, are you really taking out a guy from your top 9 in Tanner Pearson, who would be playing in the top 9, let's not kid ourselves, if he was healthy, right? And again, Lane Pederson never got called up. He'd be in the top 9. Curtis Lazar's in the top 9 right now, Chris.
Yeah.
Look, if Tanner Pearson's healthy, does Lane Pederson even get this shot, or does he play in that depth role? And again, I know we're applauding Bruce Boudreau for the savvy decision to put him with Elias Pettersson because, hey, the guy can shoot. He's a finesse shooter. That's how he scored his goals in the AHL. He's a finesse shooter. He can do it. He's showing he can play with good players. Does he even get that shot with Tanner Pearson in the lineup?
Probably not.
And this point, Chris, is it's hard to identify and find these guys who can become guys for you, right? Become a guy. It's harder to find that if you have these guys just in your lineup. And when I say these guys, I mean these Connor Garland, Curtis Lazar, Brock Besser, all these guys in the top 9.
No, but to counter your point, if Tanner Pearson was just playing before he got injured, if he was just playing like that up to this point in the season, maybe you'd give Lane Pederson a run there because he was not going to start the year, right? He was very much, I could see Tanner Pearson being a scratch so he got injured. So maybe Lane Pederson gets a chance. And it's not just Lane Pederson. Like, think about it. If they're going, let's say Linus Carlson is someone you want to get into the NHL lineup. You don't play him with Dakota Joshua and Niels Amon. Like, you're probably going to want to try him with Pederson. You're probably going to want to try him with Miller. See what he looks like with scoring players. So I'll be interested to see that storyline continue on, if it does continue, of Boudreau trusting these players enough, or even maybe it being something from the organization of like, no, hey, listen, Linus Carlson's not going to be the 4th line winger. If he's going to play in the NHL, he's going to be a top 9 guy. Play him there. Like, that's going to be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. But I do think that it's almost different and more in Pearson's favor to get into the top 9 because he's coming off of an injury. Because I tell you what, he wasn't playing good hockey going into the injury. I could have seen Lane Pederson getting an opportunity over Tanner Pearson. At that point in the season before he was injured, yeah, I could have for sure.
Now, just to close out the should we be excited part, I'm going to say something that we should all be excited about is the fact that the Canucks are winning games. They have some complete performances in front of Spencer Martin. Spencer Martin was good last night, and I pointed this out in the instant reaction article I did.
When he got hot there in the 3rd period,
exactly. And
Martin was good.
And here's the thing, Chris, is it to me, it all comes down to the psychological aspect of playing goal. And with Spencer Martin, like, you go back, I don't think Spencer Martin's had a run like this at the NHL level. And when I say a run like this, I mean being asked to play this much. I don't think he's been asked to play this much in the AHL or the ECHL. I think this is the most he's played in his pro career, to be quite honest with you, the most back-to-back games. And I got to talk to him about it. I'm sure I will in the new year when they're back at home.
Yeah.
But like, I'm pretty sure this was, and when I say was, I mean prior to Friday's game when Colin Delia got a start, that was the longest stretch of NHL games back to back to back, and just pro games. I think. Like, I don't think, like I said, I don't think he's played this much at the AHL or the ECHL level, where he's played that many games in that short amount of time. And I understand there's some stuff about the schedule in those leagues as well.
He was one of those guys in the O though that was playing like 60 plus games in the OHL. So like he's done.
That's not a pro career.
No, but he's had a workload, and the OHL is like, it's not like you're just playing weekends. Like you're playing games during the week as well.
Sure, but that's the OHL.
Sure, but I'm
talking
saying
pro hockey.
It's still a workload to play goalie.
Absolutely, you're preaching to the choir. But he was like 19 when he did that. He played 6 now.
He played 50 games for the Rampage in the AHL. So that's a good run.
It's a good run.
Yeah, but I get you are right when you're saying this is probably the biggest and toughest workload he's ever had in his life.
And again, I'm sure the Rampage had a better defense. Being the Tampa Bay farm system, I'm pretty sure the Rampage had a better defense than the.
I don't think
Canucks
Colorado, but same. They probably had a good farm team.
Oh yeah, that's the Crunch. I'm getting them mixed up. Anyways, hot moment for me. But what I'm really trying to say is that Spencer Martin right now, he's being asked to do a lot. Colin Delia comes in on Friday, turns in a really good performance. Now, that does a lot for a goaltender.
Well, did you hear Bruce last night? Bruce joked around it. Yeah, he said, "Listen, when Delia is hot on your tail like that, you got to be, when he's playing that well."
People are like goaltending controversy in Vancouver. Goaltending controversy.
Yeah, it's like goaltending controversy V3 of the season.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just like another one.
Breaking news: backup goalie plays above replacement level. Do we have a goalie controversy in Vancouver? It's like, no, just everyone settle down. I'm really happy for Spencer Martin that he was able to come back and play that solid game that he did last night against San Jose.
Okay, final thing for World Juniors. Actually, a couple things. Quinn Hughes scoring his first goal of the year. That was awesome. And his quote after the game was hilarious when he said that Bo Horvat tried to bring him the puck.
Yeah, Bo was like, "Do you want the puck?
Do you want the puck?" And then he's like, Quinn's answer, or he's like, "It wasn't very funny," or he's like, "It was funny, but it wasn't funny." Like, he was just like the most Quinn Hughes answer ever. And my tweet went crazy. Like, everybody loved that. I knew I had to tweet because I looked around. I was like, nobody tweeted out the quote from Quinn Hughes after that media availability, because that's normally like Drance and Harm are normally the guys that are standing outside the scrum and tweeting out the stuffs. But nobody was there last night to do it. So I was like, oh, I got to tweet this out. This is hilarious. This is the most Quinn Hughes thing ever. But tell you what, 2 full spins around the offensive zone with the puck on his stick, you just had that feeling of it's like winding up that those Jack in the Box things that explode. You knew he was going to score on that. You could just tell the confidence was there.
He looked really good last night. Like John Shorthouse pointed out that he had a pep in his step. It looked like.
I thought that the days, and I asked him that last night. I think the days off helped. He said it hurt him last year to have the long break that they had, but he felt like yesterday, when he talked about it, he said the time off did help him. I don't know if he was battling something. I have to imagine he was, right? Listen, you're playing hockey every day and you're playing 25 minutes a night. Bumps and bruises are going to come. I think a couple days off were really good for everyone on this team, but I think most importantly for Hughes, just with the amount of minutes that he plays.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right, injury updates. Bruce Boudreau said that he hopes Tanner Pearson is going to make the Florida trip, which is coming up very soon. The Thatcher Demko stuff was interesting. We heard 6 weeks at the time, right? When the injury was happening. Was that
sound? Yeah.
We did hear that. Is that what they said? Or they said 6,
they said
I feel
6.
right?
Approximately 6 weeks. And
so
that seems like a best case scenario, to be quite honest.
That very much is a best case scenario, because Bruce Boudreau said he is hopeful that Thatcher Demko plays in the month of January, but they also have the All-Star break going into February. Might have to be after the All-Star break. So it would be interesting to see what happens with Demko there. You mentioned Spencer Martin. He's going to get a run. And Travis Dermott today skated with Luke Shen on a third pairing. So it looks like Dermott's going to get back in the lineup tomorrow. He's damn excited. It was funny how excited he was to see the media coming up today. He's like, "Oh, I really missed you guys," with the big Travis Dermott smile. So that was nice to see. He was excited to chat with us today. All right. Set this up for the World Juniors while I get your thing for the World Juniors here.
Okay.
Talk about the teams. I got this for Christmas. And this is what you can do while I do my prospects reports now. And stuff like that.
What am I looking at?
It is a Lego set of a Ilya Pederson locker room.
That's not Lego.
Is it not Lego?
No, it's okay though.
All right.
It's one of the other ones.
Well, you can open that up.
Collector Construction. Oh, it's Canucks. It's Canucks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So while I do my World Juniors report and my prospects report, you can chip away at this thing.
It says works with major brands on the box.
Oh, really?
Major brands.
Well,
I wonder which brand.
Looked like Lego.
No, this is fantastic. I appreciate this. This is great. I'm going to start building this.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get started then with the World Juniors chat. Everybody, I see people in the chat already asking about DPD. So, all right, let's get right to it. I want to start with Kokoskembo because we'll get it out of the way quick. He played the first game for Finland in this tournament, ended up having a loss to Switzerland, 3-2 in overtime. Like the overtime goal was not great. Like it hit his glove, it got in, but he played okay. He didn't play bad, but he didn't play great. So it's going to be really difficult for Koskembo to be able to, I think, be able to be the starter. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Finland and USA, who gets the start in that one, because that's going to be a big Finland's future is throughout this tournament. So, but I think he might have lost his shot. He lost to Switzerland, and that was a tough loss. So we'll see what happens. Let's get to the Swedish guys. We'll start with Jonathan Lekkerimäki. He had some points early on in the tournament, which was in the 11-0 win against Austria. Lekkerimäki scored a goal, which was good. He came down a lot of time, as I counted a little bit earlier, but he got the wrist shot off. It was good to see. That was the more impressive part from who comes back, forces a turnover, and then sends the puck in to make a breakaway for his teammate. Lekkerimäki, those are the things you want to see from him. You want to see him battling for pucks, not just being a passenger on the line. And I thought at times throughout the first two games of this World Juniors, like there have been some things in Lekkerimäki's game where I've been like, okay, this is what we've been hoping to see. This is what we want to see from Lekkerimäki up to this point. It's him getting a couple early chances from creation and getting into plays. But I also think the bad about Lekkerimäki, and I think anybody who's watched the Sweden games, if you're in the chat, you probably agree here, but him in the bumper is a bad spot. And if anybody else has seen this in the chat, let me know. But Lekkerimäki in the bumper position on the power play, he's basically just there to take up space. Like I don't see him touch the puck very often. It doesn't look like they have any set plays for him to get shots off. I really like him more as a half wall guy. And on the bumper, I honestly think he's just kind of lost. So that's unfortunate for Lekkerimäki's situation. It's too bad because I really think he can be a good power play playmaker. I think that's where he's going to make his mark in the NHL when he does eventually get there. But right now, it's difficult to watch him sit in the bumper and just not have the puck, on his stick really at any point in this season. So, or in the World Juniors up to here. So we'll have to see what happens with him. Now let's get to the good, because the good has been great with Elias Pederson, DPD, the defenseman for Sweden, off to a great start so far. He's leading Sweden right now in penalty killing minutes. He's a guy who's being trusted on a third pairing. I didn't think he was going to be one of their top 6 defensemen coming into this tournament, to be 100% honest. So been a little bit surprised to see him get these minutes, but pleasantly surprised, obviously. Like Pedersen's a guy who's had really good run in the SHL of late. It's been nice to see him get this opportunity, and now kind of seize the opportunity with Sweden to get all of these minutes, to be able to kill penalties, to be relied upon at 5-on-5 as well. Like late in the game, they're defending a 1-0 lead, and Pedersen's out there with 3 minutes remaining. Like a lot of really good things from Elias Pederson in this tournament early on. There's a lot of pieces in there. Okay, I thought this was going to be like a one and done sort of thing. We're going to have to save this for later on. Okay, yeah. You got to come back to the show here, Quads. I'm almost done here.
Well, I just finished opening it.
I know. I thought it was going to come out. It looks like it's not a lot of pieces.
No, it is. It's over 100.
Okay. Well, never mind. I thought this was like a 7-piece thing. You're going to put this Lego
No, this will be this. Are you sure you don't want to build this?
No, I don't want to build it. Well, you know what? I got this from my what do you call your fiance's parents?
Your in-laws.
Yeah, but they're not my in-laws yet. Future in-laws?
They're going to be, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I after I've had a few, I start calling my girlfriend's dad my father-in-law.
Okay.
To his face.
Dad.
He liked it.
Go up, a couple drinks, a little quads.
Dad? Yeah, 2 drinks.
Dad?
I was like, Dad?
No. Yeah. So shout out to Wendy. She got me this, and she's excited. Excited for it to be part of the show here moving forward.
Oh, did she want me to build this?
I don't know if she wanted you to build this or me to build this, but either way, it's being built by you.
This will take me like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, I could do it during prospect reports only, and I'm talking as I'm building.
That's what I'm saying.
Just
leave it for the next little bit. Okay, so that's all I really got from the World Juniors. We got obviously more to come. The tournament's not over, only a couple games in, but it's been nice to kind of have Sweden and Finland wrapping up their games pretty early. We've had the 8 o'clock starts and the 11 o'clock starts, 11:30 starts for them so far. But good little showing from these two teams. A lot of people have asked me about Canada. I just haven't watched Canada. I don't really care too much for Canada until they start to get to the playoff series, I guess, a little bit. But I did watch a little bit of Bedard and Fantilli. Those guys are fun to watch. But right now, focusing on the Canucks prospects, and I think Elias Pedersen's had an excellent start to the World Juniors right now.
Yeah, I actually thought Aku was pretty good. I'm not sure if you talked about him because I've been focusing here.
I thought he was okay. He didn't the only thing was for me, he was not the for sure starter, right? Like he wasn't going to be 100% the starter for Finland. He had to have a really good first game against Switzerland there, and they lost. So I think it's difficult for him to get back into the net for Finland, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, he was kind of disappointing in overtime. I think that was, I would say that goal that he let in was firmly in the category of one he'd like back, if I'm being quite honest with you. But like his positioning, like it for me, and I know some people kind of groan at
so
this.
Well. I love the way he moves.
He moves well, but the one thing that I really like to see was, and again, I haven't watched a lot of Ty Young, so I don't know if he's also doing this, but like Aku got in some reps with Marco Terenius before he was hired by the Canucks. Like that was something Ian Clark set up in Finland. And then obviously Marco Terenius got hired by the Canucks as a full-time employee. So now you're seeing Aku getting to work with Marco a little bit more. And obviously he got to work with Clarkie at development camp, but
and video calls from Harvard.
Yeah, and video calls from Harvard, all that sort of stuff. But what I really like to see was even at the World Juniors, even on this stage, he was still doing the things that Ian Clark has taught him, right? And again, that bodes well for a goaltender. Like
his want to work, you can tell like it looks like a pro. The way that Kostenvo like stands in the crease and the way he shuffles and all that stuff, that part you can see that's like, oh, okay, you see that he's working, right? Like there's certain things that he looks like the way he moves, or it's like he doesn't look like a junior guy.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
Relying just on like athleticism or like Askarov does, right? Like where he just literally is like a goaltender. It just feels like Kostenvo looks like he's like suit and tie type of goalie. He plays like the position more than just being a goalie.
Yeah, exactly. He's swimming around the crease a lot less. He's the big thing was the shuffles. That's a really new concept for a lot of goaltenders that work with Ian Clark. Like it was funny. I was talking to Colin Delia about that before the season. He was just like, it's literally the opposite of everything I learned. And it's interesting to see a goaltender like Spencer Martin, who really likes to be locked in low and wide. He's still kind of able to do that. Even with the Ian Clark system, which I find really interesting. Because, Spencer Martin, it's interesting. Lachlan did a kind of a deep dive on it in the Stanchies last night, but Spencer Martin, when he's not on, he kind of falls over a lot more, and he's at the back of his heels or whatever. Like that's where he has all of his weight, and it leads to him kind of falling over and find himself swimming a little bit. But you just see it with Spencer Martin, how he's able to kind of find the in-between, right? Like where he's able to do everything. He's able to keep his style, but he's able to also implement different stuff in his game. And it bodes well long-term in the H. You like to see stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to watch what Kostenvo does for the rest of this tournament, as well as just keeping an eye on the Swedish guys, right? Like they've been off to a really good start, at least like Austria, you're the 11-0 wins, great and stuff, but it's going to be interesting to watch how I guess Lekar-Mackey looks, because these players, that's the other thing that really is exciting about his defenseman DPD. Like him at this tournament, he's got another whole year of this. Like he's going to be at this tournament next year, and it feels like Sweden's already relying on him to be that defensive guy on the back end.
I've been very impressed.
Playing good hockey. Okay, let's get to looking ahead here, because it's an interesting month here up in January. We can get the January schedule up here, Aaron. Let's take a look at this. There you go. Aaron's quick. I'm tell you, watch out, Alex. Alex is screwing up too much always on the show anyways. All right, let's get to the January schedule. You got the Islanders on the 3rd. I just want to go through this just so that people understand like what this run of games for the Canucks really is. I'm going to start with the Colorado one, because you're playing Colorado, then you're off to Winnipeg on a 5-game road trip that goes through Winnipeg, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina. That is an absolute gauntlet of really good teams that you have to match up against. And then it's like, oh, great, but we get home after that. You come home to face the Lightning, face the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Colorado Avalanche, face the Oilers on the second of back-to-backs. Then it slows down a little bit, right? Then you got the Blackhawks, who are a pretty bad team. Then you travel down to Seattle. Then you play Columbus. But that stretch of 2 weeks there, about 2.5 weeks, where it starts with Colorado at home, and then you hit the road trip, and then you return home. man, that is going to tell you about a lot about what the Canucks season is going to end up finishing like, because that is going to really test this team early and kind of in the early to mid parts of January. It's going to be very interesting to see how this Canucks team fares, because they've been playing good hockey. They've also had one of the easier schedules. When you actually look at this team, like I think they have the 9th easiest schedule up to this point for strength of opponents up to this point in the season. So it's going to get a lot harder here moving forward, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they shake out a little bit after that long little stretch there of really tough opponents.
You shouldn't have given me Lego on the show.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, but yeah, I haven't stopped playing with it.
I had the Lego cam up there for a little bit.
Yeah, too. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about the January schedule though? Because that's the make or break, right? Like if you want, I think it's, listen, in my personal opinion of this team, I think it's really good for them to have that tough stretch, because here's the thing, if they come out of there with a bunch of wins, then okay, they're a good team. Like they're this team
without Thatcher Demko too.
Yeah, without Thatcher Demko, you roll through that. You come out of those, how many games they got? 5, 9. You run through that 9-game stretch and say you go like 7-2 or like 6-2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, then they're a good team and they're going to be in a position to be around the playoffs. But if they come out of that with 1 or 2 wins, you know what this team's all about this season. And I think that in the future, you already kind of know this team needs to work on a few things, rebuild a few things. The cap's going to make it difficult to re-sign Bo Horvat, so you know that a change is going to probably come there. But if they can run through that gauntlet and actually win and come out of here better, not only just 500, but like well above 500, then you're like, okay, we got to give these guys a run. They just beat some really good teams in a 9-game stretch. So you can give that team a little bit of rope at that point.
Okay.
But if they come out of there anywhere near 500, you have to do everything to punt this season after that. That's the last chance.
Because here's the thing, right? Is, if they are around 500, right? And then they're like, well, we owe it to this team. We have to let this team have a shot together, and we can't trade Bo Horvat at the deadline.
Yeah, that still needs that. And again, you need to look at that.
I don't even think if you're, I don't know, like, is there a point at any point where it's okay for this team to let Bo Horvat walk in free agency? Because I don't think there is. I don't care where you are in the standings, and I understand, like, you've learned all these lessons after last year where this team went on a late season heater, right? And presumably you've learned all the lessons. I know we have, it feels like, but you see what happened last year and how this team went on a late season heater only to just miss the playoffs. Let's say this team goes on a heater right now and they do make the playoffs. Are they a lock to make the playoffs next year? Like, no. Especially if Bo Horvat's walking in free agency, like, what's it all for? Even with this team, with Bo Horvat, getting the playoffs and anything can happen takes are going to be starting very soon.
You can't question trading Bo Horvat. No matter how good this team plays, you need to. And I think this is something that, listen, Jim Rutherford said it. It's time to put your money where your mouth is, where he's saying he said it about JT Miller all the time. If we can't re-sign the player, we have to do what's best for the organization and move for the best assets in return. There's going to be massive amounts of options for the Canucks to go with Bo Horvat and see what kind of return they can get for him. They need to do that. There can't be any screwing around here with, potentially holding on to him because he helps with the playoff run. This is where Jim Rutherford needs to put his money where his mouth is and do it and get the return back, because it's clear that they're not going to be able to re-sign him, right? I know things can change in a minute. It felt like that's what happened with JT Miller anyways, but for Horvat, it just feels like the writing's on the wall.
But also the lesson from last season and the JT Miller situation is also, okay, just because you kept him at the deadline, you're not stoked about everything coming back in offer for a trade. Like, you can't just be, okay, well, we'll just sign this guy to whatever it takes, right? And again, I know we were talking about, Miller took less than market value, but right now, Horvat's market value is probably 9 or 10. Like, you probably get a team paying him that. And if the Canucks sign him to 8.5 or 9 and they say, well, it's below market value, it's like, yeah, that's great, but I don't think anybody wants to see that for long term in this market, right? Like, paying guys because of career years when you're not really a team that's actually ready to.
Guys that should get paid from career years are guys who just won the Stanley Cup for your organization.
Exactly.
Those are the type of people. That's a career year. Like, points in the regular season are one thing. Career year should be looked at as winning the Stanley Cup.
Yep,
that's the way I look.
Yep, I got no disagreement.
All right,
there.
I got one prospect video I want to get to. Lucas Forsell. I tried to get to here. It was struggling a little bit. Okay, there we go. So again, you can blow this one up there, and I want to show this Lucas Forsell goal from the SHL. So he's back in the SHL. Little prospects before we get to the bets. Back in the SHL for 2 games now. He scored in his first game, which was great to see. Then he comes in here, beautiful little toe drag, and scores again. The confidence on this kid, I tell you, you can see from the glitchy video here. Hopefully, this is a better zoom in here for anyone on YouTube, or otherwise, just go check it on my Twitter. This kid, he is confident. Okay, confident kid. I hear he's trying to eat more. He's trying to eat more moose to add some weight. Little insider. This isn't even a joke. I'm serious. He's trying to. He's eating more moose to get to put on some weight. He needs to put on some weight.
The animal or the dessert?
Moose, like the animal.
Oh, well, you know moose, the dessert, right?
Yeah, no, I know moose, the animal too. You ever had?
You could put on weight with both of those things.
That's true, but you want to put on the good protein there, Quads. You want to put on the moose weight.
Yeah, I've put on moose weight before.
The moose weight. Have you ever had moose? You ever
no,
had
I
deer
actually
or
haven't.
anything?
No, have you?
What's the weirdest animal you've
Isn't
ever
it called venison?
That's the type. I think that's the type of meat. Yeah.
I like that English has different words when we eat the animals compared to what the animals are actually called. Like beef.
I had rattlesnake once in Arizona.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And
it was kind of like calamari almost.
Interesting.
I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. So yeah.
Well, I'm almost done building Elias Pederson's locker here.
Yeah, Kurt says the Google slides. I don't know what happened on that video. The video was not great there.
That's okay. This Canucks set is interesting.
Yeah, you'll have to finish it off there tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be able to finish it tomorrow.
Let's get to our Betway bets.
I'll show the viewers what I've got so far. This is the
comes up with the video
Something
today.
Is
I
up
hope
with the video.
People aren't. I'm sorry for the people here on the video on YouTube.
That's a locker so far. We're working on it. It's gonna get completed.
Yeah, looks good so far. Okay, Betway, pull up there. Pull up the old bets today. We got the either or. I like we're rocking with Tyler Toffoli or Matty Beniers tonight to score a goal -134. $10. That'll get you $17.50 over on Betway. Calgary's playing Seattle tonight. I'm excited to watch that one. Should be a good game. A couple Pacific teams going up against each other. Then I got the big bet there. The Kraken to win over 6.5 total goals and former Canuck Jared McCann to score in that game plus $7.50 over on Betway. So $10 will get you an $85 return on that. These, I tell you what, in a while, just looks so juicy. He's like Kraken 05. McCann to score. Like it just one of these is gonna hit. Damn soon here. So we rock with the weird one. Let's hope you get a goal from one of those guys. Kind of balance it out a little bit.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. I'll keep building this tomorrow. We'll set it aside for today.
Yep.
For my co-host Chris Faber and our producer Aaron B. His last name starts with a B, and it's Italian, so it's a name you can trust. My name's Dave Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation. Hey, maybe it's the Canucks Conversation.
No, we're done.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?